Alright, hello and welcome to, I think it's episode 11, 12? We definitely reached double digits now, of my Retro City Rampage Clone in Unity tutorial. Today we're going to start working on vehicles, which will be fun. So I'll just show you what we've got today. Basically what we've got is the player using vehicles, so they can get in a vehicle and just sort of drive around. Yeah, and as you can see, even the enemy that's like trying to chase us, it still chases us, you know. That's all good, and I'll show you how to do that. And we've got like gears, so the car will gradually speed up as you go. So faster, faster still. We're going really nippy now. But, yeah. So yeah, let's show you how to do it. All right, first we've got the car objects, which is basically just got three scripts, so car visuals, player car script, and the enter car script. Well, it's got a rigid body, box collider, and a sprite renderer for the sprite of the car, funnily enough. And now I'm just going to demonstrate how it all works. So first off, this is basically the player car script, which just controls it moves the car basically. Funnily enough. So yeah, it's similar to the player script where we've got a script called car visuals, which controls how the car looks, and basically that gets referenced from this player car script, and yeah, we've got the direction to move, which is just the direction it moves in, like uses transform that translate. We've got gear, which is like a multiplier to make the car go faster after a certain amount, 2 seconds has passed, which just counts down, and yeah. So basically, like we did with the player controls, we use combinations of W, A, S, and D to work out which direction to move. So you know how we had like up, down, left, right, and then the diagonals on the person movement, I believe it was? Well, we've got a similar thing on the car visuals. So if I just go here, see, like move left, move right, and it sets the active sprite and whether you should flip on the x-axis. Yeah, so that does that, and it'll set the moving to true as well, so the animation will start playing. And it also sets the direction that you want to move in. So in this case, it's the W and D keys, so we're moving diagonally up and to the right. So it uses the vector 3 for right and the vector 3 for up to get the direction, and then normalizes this so it's the value it produces is between 0 and 1. And then we got the rest of it for this. So for left and up, it's left and up. Pretty simple stuff. Yeah, and finally got the else. So if any other combination of these keys are pressed, it just resets it, so it stops the car. Pretty simple. We also have a move car. Basically, it just moves the car in the direction to move that's set by the input keys, multiplied by 5 and by gear, by time.total time, so it's consistent with the frame rate. Yeah, and as the gear increases, it'll move faster, pretty much. Now we've got the gear control, which it controls the gears. Basically what it is, it's a counter. It counts down, and when it reaches 0, if the gear is less than 3, it increases the gear and resets the gear timer. Pretty simple, really. So you got gears from 1 to 3, and you'll move faster with each one. But what we've got here is the set Animate Reset. Basically, in car visuals, we have basically set. It controls the animation for the car, which is basically just like a quick 2-frame animation. It's not that good, but this basically sets how many times a second that the animation is played, and we want to go for if the. I'm just trying to think of what to say. Basically, the higher the gear, the quicker the animation wants to play. So basically, we send a float, which is basically 3, which is the maximum gear, minus the current gear minus 1, and then we divide that by 10 to make it a fraction of a second, and that is the value we send to the car visual script. So yeah, now let's go over the car visual script. We also did do some alterations to Play GUI. These were just minor ones, so make sure that they worked correctly when you get into cars and leave the car and whatnot. So similar to the player, we've got sprite arrays for up diagonally, down diagonally, and side, and the currently active sprites. Remember, we don't need like all 8 directions because we can just use the sprite renderer to flip the axis and probably save memory or something. So yeah, we've also got the animation counter to control which sprite we're on, the timer counts down, and the reset value, which gets set to, but basically resets the animation counter when it reaches 0, or animation timer, sorry. So yeah, so basically we just got an initialize, so we get the sprite renderer and just set move down so it's facing a direction, the car, and doesn't glitch out or anything. And if moving is true, which we set in the player car script, I believe, yep, cv.set moving true when we press WASD or whatever, then it'll set moving to true, and it'll allow the car to be animated because we're moving. Otherwise, it'll reset the animation counter. So that just basically sets it to 0, so it's the first sprite. Yeah, so we've got 2 setters. We'll set moving to true or false. We can do that from the we can access this from the player car script. What else? We've also got the animate script. Basically, we have a bool called flipx, which basically describes stores, do we want to flip on the x-axis for, say if we want, I think all our sprites are facing left, I believe. Let me just check. Yep, since our sprites are facing left, if we wanted to move right, we'd have to set flip x to true. So it'd give the impression of the x-axis being flipped, which is done. So see, on the move right, active is side, but flip x is true. But if we move left, active is still side, but flip x is false. Yeah, and we got one of these for the moving diagonally and all the directions you could ever want. Got that set animate reset timer thing that we referenced in the play car script. Yeah. And what else? Is there anything else on this? No, it's just a simple counter really. So counts down if it's less than or equal to 0, and the animation counter is less than active.length -1, then the animation counter is increased, else it's reset to 0. I know it might have seemed easier just to like say if it equals 0, then it equals 1, or else it equals 0. But with this, we could have longer, more complex animations and not have to change the code, basically. So that's all good. Anything else? No. Okay, let's get on the enter car script. Okay, so we've got a static boolean. So, is the player in the car? So basically, this is for any instance of the enter car script, which will be on every car. It'll like if the player is in any car, then that'll be true. And if the player is in this car, this will be also true. So these are just bools. So yeah. And we've got to store the game object of the player. We find that, we just find game object with tag player. Basically, we've got one method which controls the player entering the car. So if the player is less than 2 units away and not in the car, and the player's pressed E, then we'll disable the player's components, set the is player in any car and is player in this car to true. And I'll explain why we need these in a minute. And it will set the player's transform to this parent, to set the player's parent object to this game object. So I'll say, basically what it does, it takes this object and basically does that with it. So the player is attached to the car while the player is in it. And yeah. And then it enables the player car script here, so the players can control the car. And this code basically zooms out the camera a bit, just so it's easier to see. So I'll just show you again. Basically, camera zoomed in here, but it's a bit more zoomed out here. Simple stuff, really. What else? I'll just go. Basically, we disable person movement, the box collider of the car, the player, because there's one on the car that we use. We disable the sprite renderer, and we disable the sprite renderer of the weapon controller, which I'll get here. And we also have a mirrored method of this, basically, which does the opposite. So it enables all these components when you leave the car, which is pretty simple. Which is basically, if the player is in this car and they press E, then it'll leave the car and basically do the opposite of this code here. And yeah, we also have basically this sets while the player is in the car, this player pause while in car is called. So if the player is in this car is true, then it'll just set the player's position to this car's position. Basically, just to keep it with it, pretty much. And by doing you might think it'd be easier to disable the player entirely, but basically, by just setting the transform of the parent, by setting the player's parent to being the car, it allows us to keep the GUI scripts and health and whatnot running, so we don't get any bugs with them. And also for the targeting of the AI, because the player game object is still there and it's at the same position of the car, so the enemies can just follow the car pretty much without having to make any changes to their AI. But we probably will go back and revamp the enemy AI to account for if the player is in a car and running away, like they grab a car or something, but that's a long way down the line. And now there were some final mini alterations I made to the player scripts, just to make sure that basically it was to make sure that these scripts would account for the player being in a car and not break. So if I can remember what I put here, I don't think I've actually put something in here. No, I guess I didn't put anything in here. Okay, my bad. Basically, so for player input, so if the player is not in any car, which this is why we put in the static boolean is player in any car, then basically if that is true, then it won't allow the player to move or jump. And similar for, did we do something in here? Yeah. So basically, yeah. So we just add it in here. So if basically the player isn't in the car, then it'll reduce the health because of here. We'll probably have to add a car health and whatnot down the line. But yeah, and I think we had something similar for the weapon controller. Yeah, we just had another if statement in the update function saying if the player is not in any car, then we don't run any of the code. So yeah, well, since we've not disabled it, other objects can still reference it technically, and we don't break anything. Hooray! Sorry. Okay, so I'll just go one quick zoom over the scripts before we go. So we've got all the stuff here, update function, entering the car, moving the player while you're in the car, and disabling and enabling components. Basically just controlling the car's visuals. Pretty simple. Probably not the best way to do that, but oh well. And we got the player car script, which just moves it. Right, simple. If you're struggling to read it, just try changing the quality to 1080p or looking really closely at your monitor. I think that'd be enough, but whatever. So yeah, I'll just give you, that is basically the sprite sheet of the car at the moment. So yeah, cheers for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Go play Loud or Quiet. Buy my Hotline Miami assets. All the links will be in the description and whatnot. Yeah, if you need any help, just comment. Cheers for watching. Bye.